Hello everyone, and welcome to the PPP loan series. This is going to be teaching 5, the PPP loans, the Paycheck Protection Program. And today we're going to do how do I apply for a PPP loan. So first of all, you get your PPP loan from your local bank or credit union. They just have to be approved through the SBA to be able to offer it. There are some online sites as well, like Cabbage is one, that are doing it. Just be very careful if you do it online. You want to make sure it's a real company, that they really are doing PPP loans. Check the company out to make sure they're approved on the SBA website and that it's not like a mirror of some company. So in other words, you go to a fake site and it's supposed to be a site of a real company, but instead someone's stealing your information. So just make sure that you're at a real site if you do it online. You can also apply through sba.gov. I would not suggest that if you really want to get the loan. The reason why, there's so many people that are applying through there, you're probably not going to get it if you apply through there. So I would suggest just contacting your local banks, credit unions, seeing if they're doing it, the ones that like you currently have a banking relationship with. And then if they're not doing it, contact your other banks and credit unions around the area. See if they're doing it, and not only if they're doing it, are they accepting new customers for the PPP loan program, because several companies have already said they're not going to accept new customers for the PPP loan program. If you cannot find any, go online, try to find some credible companies. I do know people who use Cabbage. That's KABBAGE.com, I believe is how that's spelled. Normally it would be a C, but K is what I saw when I looked up online for the actual site there in terms of the spelling. So basically, what do I need when I go to apply for a PPP loan? So you will have to do a little bit of homework first before you go on to apply. The big thing here is going to be records. You have to have records. And, you know, I always tell my customers when they come in, always make sure you have a separate checking account for your business from your personal. Don't commingle funds. This is a particular time to be that this comes to be very, very important because they're going to want specific documents that really makes it look like you're a business to be able to do it. So most companies, each lending institution is going to have slightly different things that they're asking for. But for most of them, they're going to be asking for your 941 tax returns, all your last 4 941 tax returns, which are your federal quarterly payroll tax returns. They're also going to ask for your W-3, which is your annual summary of your W-2s. Now the problem you're going to run into here is if you do it yourself and you use like an online accounting, or you don't do it yourself, you hire out like a payroll company and that's all they do is payroll. What we find is a lot of times those companies, and even when you do it yourself through some accounting software, they do not give you a copy of your W-3. Now if you hire a company, like a payroll company, they're required by law to give you a copy of the W-3. But what they do is they're filing 100 companies together. So when they file 100 companies together, they don't go in and actually print out that W-3, even though it is still required by law to give it to you. So for our company, we'll go in and we'll file hundreds and hundreds of W-2s. We can't give you that file because everyone is on it. However, we do specifically print out individual W-3s. So that is something you need to make sure you get, because it's going to be required by certain institutions. If you don't have it, you can't get the loan from there. So try to get the W-3s. If not, you might have to find another institution. Also, if there's anybody that makes over $100,000, you'll have to give W-2s for those individuals to your lending institution. Most of the places are requiring that. Also, depending on your entity type as to what you would need to provide. So if you're incorporated, you would have to give your articles of incorporation, and then some institutions are also requiring your bylaws. If you're a partnership, you'd have to give your partnership agreement, or an LLC, you'll give your LLC operating agreement. You would have to give those to the lending institutions. And then if you're a sole proprietorship, self-employed, you're going to have to give a copy of your Schedule C to the lending institution. And then if you just became a company this year, let's say like in January, as long as you were in business before February the 15th, you'll just need to give your separate bank account information to the bank, showing that you have transactions, that you're actively conducting business. You'll also have to give some invoices and just other things showing them you really are in business, because you had to be in business and actively, doing things in business prior to February the 15th to be able to get this loan. So you will have to provide some documentation showing that you really are a business. Also, for independent contractors who get 1099s, those 1099s you receive, you'll probably have to give those to your lending institution on those 1099s. So also for your EIN, especially for corporations and partnerships and multiple member LLCs, you'll have to either give your letter from IRS showing that what your name is and your EIN number, or you'll have to give a copy of the first page of your tax return showing your name and an employer identification number there. So that'll be another requirement that you have to give. You'll also have to put on that application what your average monthly payroll is. So you'll put that on there, your aggregate average monthly payroll, and then you'll see some of them will do it for you. Other times you'll have to take that number times 2.5% and put the total. One thing that is something you should know, so let's say your total comes to $41,000. Well, the bank sometimes will give you $45,000. So a lot of times, and I've noticed it on most of the companies I saw, they gave more than the amount that they asked for. So that is important when you're trying to come up with numbers for repayment and things like that, because really it's fully based on that 8-week period of 2.5 times that aggregate number, and then the banks are adding to it for some extra things like utilities and rent and things like that. So also what you'll need to do is give a payroll journal. So the payroll journal for 2019 and 2020, which will show the weekly payroll as it's coming through. That's required by most lending institutions. So you'll need to make sure that is taken care of. So if you use an accounting firm, most of the accounting firms are going to have this information. Now, for most of you, when you picked up your packets each quarter, all the information's in there. So really the only thing your company would need to give you that you don't already have are going to be your 2020 information. If you have not, well, at this point you have filed probably your first quarter payroll tax return. But anything since your first quarter payroll tax return, they would need to give you in that payroll journal. So you might just need to ask them for your 2020 payroll journal. I'm sure they gave you a payroll journal in your fourth quarter tax return. And of course, now that we're out of tax season and accountants are kind of caught up a little bit, they can probably give you more information as you're going to be needed. When this originally came out, it was in the middle of tax season, and I know for our firm, we were inundated with calls, hundreds and hundreds of calls coming in requesting information, and we weren't able to fully give all the information to everybody during tax season because of just the sheer volume of everything that was happening. The clients already did have the information in their packets, and everyone that didn't, we actually emailed, even if they requested it or not, we emailed it out to them. But now that tax season's over and that volume's kind of over, those of you who have accounting firms can get more of that information from your accountants. So I would also like to say one other thing in this section. Particularly, this has been highlighted because of COVID-19 and being required to stay at home or not really go out and do certain things. It's very important for businesses to have a scanner. And when it comes to a scanner, I always recommend a document feeder scanner, not an all-in-one package where it kind of does printing and copying and scanning. Because normally what those do, they're kind of similar to your phone. So if you get a PDF program on your phone or your tablet, and most of those all-in-one printers, what they're going to do is take a picture of that document and then convert it to a PDF. But what it does is when it does that, it changes the document. It's not the original document. And the purpose really of a PDF is to be an exact duplicate of that document. But those things do not make exact duplicates of documents. A lot of times they can't be printed out. They run into all sorts of problems. A lot of security software will stop it when it comes in because there's areas where people can embed viruses into those. So if you really want to be able to handle things online in terms of anything that deals with the government or banking or anything like that, you need a document feeder type scanner. I always suggest to my customers Fujitsu, and I always say the name wrong, ScanSnap scanners are awesome scanners. The S1300i I always suggest for really, really small companies or individuals to get that one. You can get it on Amazon. And then if you're a bigger company or you just want one that's a little bit nicer, you've got the IX1500, which does a little bit more. It costs a little bit more for that scanner. But the scanners are awesome. All the scanners that they have, they work with Macs NPCs. They work with your phones, tablets, and things like that. So, information can come right into your phone so you can send it out. But those are awesome scanners, and it allows you to do things in an electronic environment and still be able to conduct business, which is very important. So I hope these video series are helping you out. This is the 5th in the teaching series. We have one more, which is going to go over the loan forgiveness application. And I hope you guys stay tuned for that one. And thank you.